Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be talking about the first event for the Rivals of Aether 2 Championship Series. It's going to be one of Hungrybox's online qualifying events for EVO. If you don't know, whoever ended up winning this event gets a free trip to EVO. And the only real downsides to this event is it was all best of 3 up until the top 8. I know that it's a one-day online event, so obviously it's not going to be all best of 5. You're not going to be able to get everything done in one day, but it would have been really nice if the top 64 was best of 5, just considering how important this event actually is. And also, it was on a Wednesday. I don't know why they put it on a Wednesday, but regardless, our top 16 finishers are going to be OKZZ, Beastly, Mr. Nice Guy, and Dr. Lobster in 13th. Max, Run Gunshoe, Ion, and Elkies in 9th. In 7th place, you have B-Bats and Spargo. 5th place is Nbad and Human Lime. 4th place is Cake Assault. 3rd place is Full Stream. 2nd place is Sofilo. And winning the entire thing is Marlon. Really quickly, and I do mean really quickly, I want to take a look at the character representation for this top 64 because there is a pretty evident outlier here with these 15 Zetaburns. We'll get to that in just a second, though, because there were actually 4 Edalist players in this top 64 and then only 2 Forestburn players. But Edalist, not the most uncommon character in the top 64. Pretty crazy. Those buffs absolutely coming in to help him. You had a crazy run from full stream getting all the way to top 8. You absolutely know we'll be talking about that in just a bit. Second most popular character is Loxodon as well, especially after the nerfs that character just got. I know the Loxodon players were really complaining about that change to neutral special, but managed to persevere. None of them in the top 8, but still very impressive at 7. We're in the top 64. And then 15 Zetaburns is absolutely ridiculous for this top 64. And I saw something on Twitter, I think it was from Wisely, which I do trust as a source, that there is a Zetaburn nerf coming. They wanted to have it in the last patch, but they just weren't able to get it out in time. So don't worry, this character is going to get nerfed. He absolutely needs to get nerfed, even though I don't think that Zetaburn is definitely clearly the best character in the game. I still personally think that Rano and Maple slightly edge it out over him. I think in practice, this character is just unbelievable. His strengths are just so strong. I know that doesn't really mean anything, but when he hits you, any of his aerials or his tilts for that matter, he's just getting so much value from him. Flame as a mechanic as well is making him such an early killer. He's racking up damage constantly. He's just such a strong character, and the main issue, which is supposed to be his recovery, is a really strong area for him because all the good Zetaburn players just go low and tech the wall anyway. So absolutely, this character is going to need to be changed, but changes are coming. Worry not. Still very funny top 64 to look at. Make sure that you use code ProofBlock. I forgot to say it in the intro. But moving on to our top 8, C2 did not get top 8, and it was actually most of them, starting off with ZB, who DQ'd, fairly self-explanatory. Then you're going to have Beastly, who DQs from the winner's side, but has a pretty nice losers run, winning 9 sets in a row over Drovey, Tim Prater, Maya, Waitharum, Cora, Cody Schwab, Adam, Dakpo, and Acorn. He brought out the Olympia in a couple of those sets as well, and then ultimately loses to Sofilo 2-0. So nice run here from Beastly. Obviously not the run that he wanted. He would have wanted to get into that top 8, but he also would have wanted to start in the winner's side, unless he did, on purpose DQ, in which case, you reap what you sow running into Sofilo. But 13th place, definitely not the end of the world for Beastly. Then you're going to have Stango in 65th place. It is a little bit worse, but he is going to get upset fairly early on by Soldado Herido. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The Loxodon player, though, that's the upset factor of 13, the biggest upset of the event. So big shouts to them for that one. Then he gets a win over Doctor Who and Zace before falling to Cody Schwab, actually, in the Ditto in the loser side. There was a lot of Zetaburn players playing against each other. They ended up cannibalizing a little bit in that loser side. But unfortunate run here for Sango. Obviously, he would have expected to go much further. No Crag here as well. It was just Zetaburn. Editing ProofBlock, just wanted to point out that Stango actually did play Crag at this event. He played it not only against Cody Schwab in that set that he ended up losing in the loser's side, but he also played it against Zace and his other opponent of Doctor Who. So it might be just once he got to the loser side, he started going Crag, but Smasher's app reports it all Zetaburn. Not true. He plays Crag in the lower side. Thought I should point that out. And really, I would just chalk this off to an off day for Stango. Just wasn't playing at his best. The next event, he is absolutely going to place higher than this. You're going to have Mystery Soul finishing in 49th. He also is going to get upset in the winner's side by PK, a Zetaburn player, and then in the loser side, he ends up getting a win over Merp, and then ends up losing to Zach. Now, it says he DQs on Smasher's app. I don't know if that's 100% true, but apparently he DQ'd or lost to Zach. So shouts to Zach, or not shouts to Zach, for the outcome of that match. But regardless of the outcome, it was 49th place for Mystery Soul. And then finally, you're going to have Ion, who had a pretty solid run up to 9th place, beating Torna, Revelo, and B-Bats. I know there was a little bit of drama in that B-Bat set. I think there was like a disconnect in game 1 or something like that. But whatever, wins the difficult matchup in Crag against Flea, and then ends up getting double Zetterburn against Fullstream and Sofilo, but does manage to take a game against Sofilo. So a lot of upsets on our best talent before top 8 has even started. We already talked about Beasley's run to 13th place through the loser side, but what's funny is he's not the only one who had a loser's run to 13th, because so did everyone else who got 13th. Starting off with Mr. Nice Guy, who's going to get upset by Kodek, then beat Poilu, Synthesis, Gengar, actually upsets Gengar, so shouts to him for that one. 2-1 win over Bin, and a 2-0 over Godly before falling to B-Bats. And that set against Bin was, for some reason, Edelus against Maple. At least it's reported as Edelus against Maple. I have no idea why this would be the case. Edelus Maple is one of Edelus's worst matchups. One of the worst matchups just in the entire game. Absolutely miserable. So I actually have no idea why Mr. Nice Guy went Edelus here, if he even did. But he read Forsberg in the rest of his matches, and regardless of what character you played, it's a very nice run to 13th place. You're going to have OKZZ, who's going to end up losing the Ditto to Zen in the winner's side. They're a lock stomp player for reference. Then they get a win over Totally Suyu, Shard, Smilebot, Shadow, and Nog. And to beat Nog in the Ditto after losing to another lock stomp player is so impressive to me. Like, I don't know if Nog is like currently regarded as the top lock stomps among the players of that character, but he has the best result that that character is going to have, and maybe will forever have. Second place in a major with that a character is pretty insane, almost as insane or a little bit more insane than this run. We got to be realistic here, but still very solid from OKZZ. End up falling to Spargo right after beating Nog, which is definitely a difficult draw to get in your bracket, but a nice run regardless. And then finally, you're going to have Dr. Lobster, who was seeded pretty low at this event. He was the 356 seed, but made a crazy run after getting, not upset by Cody Schwab, but losing to Cody Schwab. They beat Doc, Hampolo, Bunthers, Matthias, Zen, Jorg, and PK before falling to Human Live. So after Doc, every single win that Dr. Lobster got was an upset, and the only one that was under an upset factor of 4 was against Matthias. So just crazy losers run and run in general from this guy, absolutely putting a little bit more credit on his name, and I'm excited to see if he can keep this up at his next events. And the final player that I want to mention before getting into this top 8 is going to be Max, and they are going to be your best Ronald player of the event, and pretty clearly the best Ronald player of the event. And I want to say, I think that Rano is better than Zetterburn, even though you may not see the representation of that. And I think that's largely just because the really good Rano players aren't signing up for events. Like Luck, Squanto, Ant, those are probably the top 3 guys that you think of when you're thinking of Rano. None of them signed up for Coinbox. So that's why I think Rano isn't as represented as a character like Zetterburn, even though I do think they're very, very close, if not Rano being stronger in strengths. But anyway, the reason that I bring this up is because if Max is going to be consistently entering events, then we no longer have to worry about there being a lack of top Rano representation. This guy is legit. He looked absolutely insane. He takes 2 really nice wins in the winner side over both Hyperflame and Spargo before losing to Nbad, and then has a heartbreaking loss against Human Lime in the loser side. It was really tough to watch it go out that way. I think he drops his controller on the final edge guard, like literally the final edge guard against Human Mind, and ends up SDing. Absolute tragedy. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I want to shout him out. Like, you have to get shouted out because he was basically a shoo-in for top 8. There was divine intervention. But if you're Max, keep your head high. You did amazing at this event. Got one of the hardest wins you can get in Rivals of Aether 2. And for the future, I'm very excited to see what this guy can do. Editing ProofBlock, I think I forgot to mention this, and if I didn't, you're hearing it twice, but Max had some crazy good side Bs. I love how he used that tool as a call-out instead of just a movement option. I feel like a lot of Ronald players are kind of hesitant to pull the trigger there, but he was doing it all the time, going for these hard reads, and they didn't always pan out, but a majority of the time they did. So I wanted to give him a little bit of an extra shout for those side Bs, because they were nasty. And we've arrived at top 8. If there's anyone I left out and you're curious about the run, just leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to tell you how they did. But starting off with our 7th place finisher, specifically starting off with B-Bats, you're going to have them getting wins on J-Mac and BioBurb in the winner side before falling to Ion. Again, there's that weird stuff that happened in game 1 with the disconnect. I don't really know, but regardless, 2-0 in Ion's favor. Then there's going to be a 2-1 win over Varyin. I believe that's how you say that. And they play Fleet as well, so shouts to them for actually making it that close. 2-0 over Mr. Nice Guy and a 2-0 over Run Gunster. I think that matchup would be pretty difficult for Fleet, just having to deal with that really massive disjoint of Claire and down B as well. Completely nullifying your projectile zone makes that move a little bit more valuable than it is typically, but still 2-0 for B-Bats. Then they're going to lose a very close game 5 set to Human Lime. And that's another set, or rather matchup, where I really don't know what to think about it, because for Fleet, you're obviously going to have really nice edge guarding against Olympia, as well as your disjoints are going to matter significantly against that character. It's not like they're small disjoints for Fleet, but they're massive disjoints when you're playing up against Olympia. But also Olympia hits you once and you go on an absolute ride. It just feels like a matchup where both players are really beating up on each other, but Fleet just kind of does it a lot slower and more so by whittling you away until she gets the pick off stage. But regardless, really nice run here from B-Bats. 7th place, highest placing Fleet at the event as well, and that's with Mystery Soul here. Again, he might have DQ'd in loser side, we don't really know, but big credits to B-Bats for the run. This character is absolutely not dead in the water like a lot of people may have thought a couple patches back. Then you're going to have Spargo also finishing in 7th place. They're going to get a win over Muxedo and Mcock before losing to Max, where they then beat Revelo, OKZZ, and Elkies 2-0 before running into Sofilo, and they end up losing that one in a game 5 banger set. And honestly, just a misfortune for Spargo to run into Sofilo when they were playing that hot. It says more than anything. And for Spargo, I know he tweeted on Twitter that he's not like the most happy with the current Rivals patch, and honestly, I can't really blame him when they're nerfing the aerial drift of his character, or acceleration, whatever it was, of his character pretty significantly, and then like giving baby kisses to Rano, to Maple, to Zetterburn. Like, I can definitely see where he's coming from. Of course, a couple things are going to change before EVO. Hopefully his mindset does as well, and he's feeling good for that event, because it would be an absolute spectacle to see Spargo go on the run there. But 7th place for him wasn't the placement he was looking for. Probably not, but it's still top 8. Really solid run. In 5th place, you got Human Lime and Nbad, starting off with Nbad, who's going to get a 2-0 over Oreo Cookie, 2-0 over Gengar, 2-1 over Nog, 2-0 over Max to get himself a winner's side top 8. Once in the top 8, he loses 3-1 to Marlon and then 3-1 to Sofilo. But I think Maple is maybe the most underrated character in the game, and that's just because the amount of complaining I see people do on Twitter about every single character, and the amount of complaining I see about Maple, even though she's as broken as she is, it's very unproportional. And I think the reason for that is just because that Maple is not a very accessible character relative to the rest of the cast. If you want to take her to the next level, especially at the top level, big emphasis there. Obviously, at lower level, you can just like probably spam dash attack and get away with it. But especially at the top level, if you want to make this character work, you got to be very precise. You got to know your combo routes. You got to know how people are DIing. And it's safe to say that Nbat has all of that stuff on lock. He's definitely one of the front runners for best Maple player in the world. It's a weird conversation because in my mind it's always clearly between him and Elkies, but then Plup also exists and it's probably the front runner realistically. So it's a very awkward dynamic to actually discuss. But off of this last result, you could say that Nbad is the front runner for best Maple, and honestly, I wouldn't fight you too hard for it. He's been looking pretty incredible recently, and I only expect him to keep it up. Speaking of players, I expect to continue succeeding. You're going to have Human Lime, who's been on a really big uptick recently, a recent Olympia main as well. I believe they used to play Raster, but do not quote me on that one. They actually lose very early on in the winner's side to Rivelo, but then they beat Broly, Key Lime, Sky, where they actually do use Raster in that set against Zetterburn. Backpack, Switch. Actually, they beat Switch as well. I just straight up glanced over that, but they eliminate Switch for 33rd in the Olympio Ditto. They're going to get a 2-0 over Backpack, 2-0 over Iota, highest placing Orcane at the event, 2-0 over Dr. Lobster, 2-1 over Max, and then a Game 5 win over B-Bats before falling to Cake Assault. Does manage to take a game, though, and I do think that Cake Assault is a pretty bad draw, not only because, you know, it's Cake Assault, but with that big sword of Forsburn, if you catch someone's timings, you kind of get the rhythm they're going on, you're absolutely able to destroy Olympia. And Olympia was a ton of fun to watch during this bracket, just throughout the tournament. And I think she's really the best glass cannon character that I've maybe ever seen at the top level of any fighting game. Like, she dies really fast, yes, but holy, you are dying if of one hit. Like, everything, every aerial, I should say, that human line was connecting, it was doing so much damage. His back air specifically were incredible. Like, I knew back air was going to be the move that was taken to the next level by the good Olympias, but I just did not expect it to look like this. This character is so flashy, so explosive. Really, really big fan of watching them. Human line was a treat to watch as well, and I just hope to see more top-level Olympia. In fourth place, you're going to have Keikasol. He's got a 2-0 on Sago, 2-1 on Archangel, 2-0 on Iota, 2-0 on Elkis to get himself winner side top 8. Then he's up against Fullstream. Game 5, Zetterburn against Edalus. Ends up losing that one. I don't know why he doesn't try Forsburn there. I assume it's just because he thought he'd had it with the Zetterburn, which is like fair enough. I thought he had it too. But I don't know if Zetterburn or Forsburn necessarily matches better into Edalus. Regardless, though, he's going to lose that one game 5. Then he's got a 3-1 over Human Lime, then ends up losing 3-1 to Sofilo. Takes the first game in the Zetterburn Ditto, then goes Fleet the second game, loses it. Forsburn the third game, loses it, and then I don't remember who he played in the last game. I want to say it was Forsburn off the top of my head. Regardless, though, ends up losing that one. So definitely a weird set for Keikazo, only really taking a game there in the Ditto. And it's very interesting that we had Zetterburn come out so much in the top 8 and then not at all previously. I don't know if it was maybe something where he was kind of like messing around, or if it's like a matchup specific thing, because he didn't play any other Forsburns, or Zetterburns, I should say. I keep mixing those two up. He didn't play any Zetterburns prior in the bracket, so I don't know if his thing would have always been to force the Ditto against that character, or maybe pick Fleet like he did against Sofilo. But I don't really know. That's kind of my takeaway from Keikasol at this event. I don't really know what to think about this one. He is still going to be one of the GOATs of this game, though. Like, obviously, he got 4th place. It's not like he even did bad. I'm talking about it like he did bad, but it's just because I hold such a high standard for this guy. Whenever I see him lose to anyone, literally anyone, even a game, it's like actually shocking. So to see him get 4th place at this event, I believe his lowest ever placement in Rivals of Aether 2. Yeah, it's online, but still, that is something to consider. Pretty crazy. But also, for everyone else in the world, this would be an amazing run. So I wouldn't take it too hard if you're a kid. Editing for Brock really quickly, wanted to say that Keikasol got 5th place at the Flycast Flight Series, which was an online event. He also played Human Lime, so maybe that's the common variable. I don't know, but 4th place is not his lowest ever placement at a Rivals 2 event. Just thought I should clear that up. Next up is going to be Fullstream, and he was easily my favorite player to watch at this event because of that Edalus, but he got some value from Zetterburn as well. He 2-0'd Dakpo with the Zetterburn, that he beats Shadow and Godly with the Edalus, 2-1 against Shadow and 2-0 against Godly. Then he beats Ion with the Zetterburn, 2-0, beats Keikasol game 5 with the Edalus, absolutely goes crazy there. Then against Marlon, he ends up getting 3-0'd. I'm pretty surprised he doesn't end up trying Forsburn or Zetterburn. I keep mixing it up in that set there. It's obviously he just wanted to put on a show for the people, stick it out with the Edalus there, because I do think that's probably the worst matchup in the game, Edalus against Raster. Like, yeah, Raster dies really early, that's great, but also you just do not play the game at all as the Edalus player. And then he is going to lose 3-1 to Sofilo in the loser side as well. But really nice run here from Fullstream. And I gotta say, not what I expected top Edalus to look like. Not even close. And I don't think that most top Edalus players are going to play like this. You had like no up airs from Fullstream. He was like an anti-up air Edalus. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. He didn't even go for a ton of edge guards as well. It was a lot of forward airs and a lot of down airs. He was getting way more value out of down air than any other Edalus I've seen. And I do believe they buffed that move since I've kind of like seen a top Edalus player compete. So it definitely makes sense that he was getting more value. But he was like getting so much value from that down air move. Up air as well. Back air was another tool he was getting incredible use out of, just dash attacking and then immediately doing a reverse aerial rush, or however he turns around so fast to get a back air out of the jump there is super slick, just using that disjointed tool to poke against people and then chain into itself. And then I already brought it up with his forward airs, but his forward airs were so incredible, just using the timing of that move, the extra slowdown that you have with it to catch people off guard, to call people out, to confirm out of, or to confirm into, I should say. I was really impressed by Fullstream's play at this event. He absolutely shows that Edalus is viable, and we kind of all knew Edalus was viable. I think after the recent patches, every single character in this point Rivals of Aether 2, you can make them all work. And I'd say that it was like a little bit ago for Edelus, like 2 or 3 patches ago. You could probably justify playing him, but after the most recent patches, he might not even be the worst character in the game. I don't want to jump the gun here. I still think he's the worst, but Full Stream has definitely made me a believer. He played amazing at this event, and even though I know we're probably not going to see more of him, I really want to. In second place, you're going to have Sofilo, and they were the player of the tournament, in my opinion, or at least they had the run of the tournament. She just looked absolutely insane on the damage output. They got a 2-0 over Rembrandt, 2-0 over Switch in the Ditto as well. Ends up losing 2-1 to Marlon in Orcane against Edinburgh. So I guess Iota is not the highest placing Orcane. Technically, it is Marlon, but we all knew it was kind of Marlon when I said that anyway. Then he got a 2-1 over Archangel, 2-0 over Beatsley, 2-1 over Ion to get herself into top 8. Once in the top 8, she beats Spargo Game 5, Nbad 3-1, Cake Assault 3-1, Full Stream 3-1, and then loses to Marlon Game 5 against the Raster this time around. So the only person that managed to take Sofilo to Game 5 was going to be Marlon. I mean, I guess technically Ion and Archangel did too, because it was in best of 3. So shout out to those players for taking her to her limits. But her damage output was, like, insane. Like, I know it's Zetterburn. Obviously, the damage output's going to be high, but Sofilo was just not missing any combos. Every single forward air that she hit as well was either a sweet spot forward air or a sour spot, which would then be promptly comboed into a sweet spot. She was just so on top of everything. This feels like some of the most optimized Zetter that I have ever watched. Like, I definitely say that Beastly is still, like, the most optimized in terms of shining. That guy is, like, unbelievable in that aspect, but everywhere else, I mean, Sofilo might be leading right now. She looked incredible. I know we haven't seen her compete a ton offline, and that's really the main thing I want to see now. I don't know when her next big event is, but I am absolutely going to be looking out for her in the bracket because I know she's going to go pretty far and take out some of the best players that this game has to offer, just like she did at this event. And our big winner is, of course, to no one's surprise, going to be Marlon with 0 sets dropped. He's got a 2-1 win over Landon, who is one of 3 people who managed to take a game off of him at this tournament. So big shouts to Landon for that one. He uses Raster in that set. Then it's 2-0 over Natty Solo with Orcane in the Ditto, 2-0 over Slippy with Raster, 2-0 over Backpack, and 2-1 over Sofilo with the Orcane, 2-0 over Run Gunshoe, and the rest of this is going to be with Raster, Run Gunshoe included, 3-1, I should say, over Nbad, 3-0 over Full Stream, and then a game 5 win over Sofilo. But Marlon is the best player in the world right now for Rivals of Aether 2. I mean, we knew that coming into this event, but it really was just confirmed. He is such a fast player. There's just nobody that even moves like him. It's like already such a difficult thing to beat this guy because already he's operating at just a higher level than you are. He's pressing more buttons than you. His character's sliding around faster than you are, especially considering that he's doing this on either Orcane or Raster, the 2 most slippery characters in the game. I just don't know how you land a hit on this guy in the neutral, much less how you get away from him in the disadvantage. Like, he is just such a scary player. And the final thing I want to say in this video before I wrap it up is I think it was really sick that we had a top 8 with 8 individual characters being repped. Like, that is really, really cool. Like, yeah, you could argue that there was only 7 because Cake Assault used Zetterburn a little bit, but also he primarily played Forestburn, and then you could argue that Marlon's Orcane should count even though he didn't use it in the top 8. So technically 9 characters in this top 8. Pretty impressive if you ask me, but the diversity in this game at the top level is just so sick to see. Yes, there are characters that are absolutely better than others, but when it gets to that really, really high echelon, if you're good enough, you can make anyone work, and that's just the only thing that I wanted from Rivals of Aether 2. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sports been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!